Okay, so I guess I will call this Confessions of a Louis Girl. Now, I have wondered why people have talked about, oh, Louis, he looks like he's getting older, he's got gray hair, kind of has more smile lines. I mean, honestly, he's white. White people, they're in the sun and they don't have enough sunscreen. They're just gonna have more expression lines sooner than people that have you know, melanin in their skin. And gray hair is not a sign of age because there are families where it is a genetic trait for people to go gray at really young ages, like young as in early 20s. So gray hair in itself, not a sign of aging. We just tend to associate it with aging because there's a higher probability you'll have gray hair if you're over a certain age. Now, the funny thing is, when I look at pictures of Louis from the X Factor, like his audition and really early footage, very, very laddie looking, right? Those very sparkling blue eyes, right? But it's very clear he's young. And when I look at Louis now, you he still looks like Louis, and it's strange because I know he doesn't look like a 17, 18-year-old anymore because it's like he's 33, but he does look wiser and older and mature, but he still looks like him, and I don't see it as a sign of deterioration and decline. I just see it as evolution and wisdom, where actually it's in one's advantage to not look so young for so long, just because no one's gonna take you seriously. But it's as if there's an expression I don't agree with where it talks about like I've earned my wrinkles. Well, no, you don't earn your wrinkles. They happen to you whether you earn them or not. They might just be deeper if you don't take care of yourself. But if you look into Louis', they say the eyes are the window to the soul. So like there's some neurobiology in that one. But you look into like Louis' eyes and you compare the 18-year-old Louis asking for a chance on the X Factor with the Louis of today, and it's like the eyes became more piercing. Like they don't look like they're defeated. And that is the biggest contrast that I see between Harry and Louis. Because with Harry, I mean, I don't expect him to look like his 16-year-old self. That would be weird. That would truly be weird. Although there are people that are on YouTube that there's like this one guy who's like 61 and he looks like he's like 28, but he still looks like an adult. So I don't expect an adult to look like a teenager. However, with Harry, I don't see the same person anymore. It's as if it's a totally different person. And again, when you look in the eyes, it's like Harry's eyes used to beam with this joy. And now it's like, I don't think it's just being tired. And it's like really evident to me when you see pictures of like side to side Harry at 20, 21 versus Harry at 30, 31. It's like there is no trace of that boy anymore. Unlike Louis, where you still see traces of that 17, 18-year-old year old kid that auditioned. And what blows my mind is that I don't know about you, but it just doesn't feel like it was that long ago because I know 2010 was like 15 years ago, but it doesn't feel like that long ago. It's as if the culture's been maybe a little too static in some ways with the fashion, but anyway, it with Louis there is a congruency, and from the very onset, I think that okay, so this is why I say Confessions of a Louis Girl. Now, Louis was the underdog. I mean, I think they all kind of were, except for Harry. But the story goes that Louis was ousted as the lead singer for his school band, and that was one of the motivating factors to him auditioning on X Factor. Now, that kind of laid the groundwork for kind of what we've seen evolve, that this guy does not give up. And it's like when one thing doesn't work, he finds another way. He's finding another way. And it's this it's kind of like software. You know how like software there's like a next generation where they like correct there are glitches, and then it becomes even better software. Like, if you compare like the very, very, very first version of Word, like now we have like Microsoft Word, but the very first Word was like Word 4.2 or so. It was really like you had to know all these commands and anything. Couldn't do all the stuff that it can do now. I kind of see Louis as sort of this ever evolving, uh, ever continuous improvement kind of person, right? And that's why it's like, I don't think there is a confession of being a Louis girl. I think it's like a celebration of being a Louis girl. And the people that I feel recognized from the very beginning that there was something special about Louis, that were kind of Louis girls from day one, it's because they saw the potential, but they also saw kind of like this fire in the gut, and also just a not a bravado, but a kind of like a quiet sense of self in a weird way. Like it's hard to explain, but the foundation of what Louis has been able to accomplish, and he is actually really, really successful. It's almost like an incognito accomplishment because if people really look into Louis, you'd be kind of amazed just how much this guy's accomplished. It just doesn't get as much coverage. It's not sometimes so instant looking, and it's a lot of it is like if you understand the math of things, you can see just how much he has forged for himself. And Louis is it's like, okay, it's the difference between like fine wine and like beer. Like, you know how beer goes flat, right? Or there's other like popular drinks in the spirits category. Uh, I don't know if like the hard liquor ever gets really like outdated and spoils. I think it does. But if you think of fine wine, um, really good wine, it's almost like age increases its value. I sort of see him as like a Cabernet of sorts, right? Or a Merlot. And I don't necessarily see that with Harry. So when it comes to Larry, this is why you start as a Larry and then you become a Louis girl, right? I would be willing to bet that more people start off as a Larry and go Louis versus go Harry, because the more you kind of inevitably look into Louis, right? Because Harry's the obvious one that people used to look at. It's it's sort of like an asset. It's like gold tends to increase in value, um, or certain real estate increases in value. There are certain things in this world that they increase in value, and there's other things in this world like cars. Like the minute you drive a car off the lot, it loses. It immediately depreciates. Its selling value is never going to match what you bought it for, unless it's one of those rare cases of a really interesting classic line, but that's not the norm. So something about being like a Louis girl, which I'm not talking about just myself, is the person that they saw the diamond in the rough as a diamond before it was cut to really shine, right? And so now we're seeing that diamond being Louis shining, and it's not just style, because there's this whole track record that people don't know until they go looking, and so he's like this mystery that as you uncover more and more about him, it's even more and more fascinating. It's like the more you know, it's even better than the mystery, right? Because some people, they're very mysterious, and then you get to know them, and it's like, oh God, it was better when I didn't know. He's the opposite, and when you think of like people that are able to spot opportunities in the face of opposition, they develop inevitably like a real trust in themselves. They almost have to earn their confidence, right? And they also have to just have it in them to not allow one defeat to be a permanent defeat. If anything, I look at Louis as somebody who has earned his stripes, and there's something about a person that earns their stripes versus someone like a Harry who it just was really cute and just that was a big asset and yet looks like he doesn't have the shine anymore.